And we're good. Good morning to both of you. Welcome. So nice to see your smiling face today, Daniela.
Good morning.
So
Good
wonderful
morning,
to meet you
everyone.
too, Julio.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for
So
having me.
we'll just take a few minutes to chit chat while people are joining. Whereabouts are you located?
Located in South Florida. That's where I live,
Nice.
nearby Fort Lauderdale area, and that's where I live. Yes, and work in different countries too for when the
Wonderful.
ayahuasca work that I do.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You've
So
got
I
much
had
better
the
weather than we do down there in Florida today.
Oh yes. Oh yes. It's still. I mean, for us, it's a little bit cold. For you, it's like summer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning, everyone. Hi, Jinx.
Uh, we're so excited about this conversation with you all this morning. So thank you. Thank you for
All
connecting
right.
with us.
All right. Good.
We I had the great good fortune of having an opportunity to study and learn a bit with Julio, and Julio is just masterful, decades
Let
long
me let me
immersion.
interrupt. Let me interrupt you for the benefits of the listeners, the viewers. Uh, yes, my true name is Julio. Uh, my author name is Jules Henry. So if you see my Jules Henry in the bottom of your screen and you're calling me Julio, that is okay. I mean, it's my given name is Julio. So, but I have this artistic name, author name of Jules Henry. So whatever you can switch either way, and it's okay.
Would you prefer I call you Jules Henry? I'm happy to make the switch.
Yeah, let's do Jules Henry
Okay,
because this is the
done.
author. This is the author today.
Okay, new
This is the
delete, start over.
this is the mask I'm wearing today. Yeah.
New timeline. Okay,
Right.
well,
Right.
good
Right.
morning. I am so happy to get to share with you a dear teacher of mine, Jules Henry. I had the great good fortune of studying with him and learning about the wisdom of ayahuasca. Jules Henry is a facilitator and a brilliant educator and speaker. He has two books that I'll share in the comments so you can look them up: Ayahuasca Wisdom and Ayahuasca Unveiled. And he's here today to help educate us.
Good. Good. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, do you mind me asking, how did you get into ayahuasca?
Oh, it's a long story. I'm trying to brief it as much as possible. But yes, first time I heard from it was in 1988. That was in the very early years when ayahuasca was starting to mention in articles and media. And it wasn't a New York Times article in the science section where it spoke about the this brew from South America. Some tribes use, and it said that this brew makes you see the past, the present, and the future. And then, I mean, that I couldn't, I mean, it was too much for me. I was in this mindset of three-dimensional knowledge, like, oh, everything is physical, nothing is beyond. I was in this mindset that is very low in the lower three dimensions. And by that time, I have done all kinds of psychedelics in college, and I passed over that. I moved into I married and have my professional career. I was a bank executive, and I have all these success symbols. The sports cars, the golf club, and all that. And but I was empty, and I was all still looking. And when I read that, I said, "Wow, that's interesting. One day I'm going to go to South America. I try that because I tried by that time I have tried mushrooms, LSD, a few of all psychedelics in my exploratory journeys during college, and after trying them a few times, I found some emptiness at the bottom. It was not feeling this quest for fire that was following, and I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but there was also, and I think we all have that a void that we want to fill with something. So when I read that, I said, okay, maybe, yeah, one day I will go to South America. So I make the clipping out of the newspaper and put it inside a book. And 10 years later, in 1998, I mean 1998, yes, or 97, uh, a friend of mine pulled this book from my bookshelf and opened it, and the article fell down. And I was, and what is this? Oh, ayahuasca, this and that. And I was very excited explaining that one day I would go to South America 10 years after reading that. And that person like took a mental note of that. A few months later, this person calls me. Hey, listen, Julio, I heard you so excited that day talking about that article. There's a shaman from South America coming to Puerto Rico. I was living in Puerto Rico, my hometown. I'm Puerto Rican, born and raised in Puerto Rico. So Peruvian shaman in Puerto Rico. Yeah, he's doing ayahuasca ceremonies. Are you interested? Of course. So one thing led to the next, and there I was with my first cup of ayahuasca in my hands in the summer of 1998, and that changed my life. That was how that's over happened. Here I am, a facilitator, no longer a bank executive. The whole life turned around, and that's the long answer to your question.
That's beautiful. What a life shifting experience,
Oh
to
wow!
go
Oh
from
wow!
yeah.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Yes, yes.
Jules, what was it that happened in that first experience? As you mentioned that you had explored other mind-opening medicines, plant
Mm,
medicines, and they left an emptiness afterwards. So
mm.
what touched you or opened or quit you in that first experience?
Well, my first experience is extremely different to the average after watching so many first experiences all those 25 years drinking and offering ayahuasca to others for 15 years now. The first experience is very, very unique and very unforgettable. I mean, it's like the first kiss when you are a preteen or something. That you never forget that boy, that girl that kissed you for the first time.
Yeah.
It's an,
Fireworks going off.
Hey, you remember that, Lara? You remember that, Daniela, right?
Straight dance. Yep.
And you can be 80 years old and you remember that. So yes, it's an imprint that gets into your neural system, and you never forget about it. But mine in particular was extremely strange and weird, and to say the least, because most people go to different realms and heavens and colors and fractals and sacred geometry and whatever. My case was very dry and I have an experience just before vomiting at the end of my experience. And I saw in that bucket when I threw up a vision about something in my life, in my real life, in my professional life, that it was unbelievable to me. That was my only vision, my only thing, and that experience. And it was about like a warning that ayahuasca was telling me about something that was going on that was in danger. And what was going on was that I don't know if I can do the longer version or the one.
Yeah, please do.
How much time do we have here? How much time?
We have up to 90 minutes, so plenty of time.
Okay, so let me do it quickly. So this is my first experience. I'll never forget this. So it was like it was telling me that there was my boss that hired me in this bank had a secret deal with one of my clients. I was the head of this department, and this client, I didn't want this client in the bank because it was terrible credit and unethical person. I knew him from before. He was making a $50 million loan request to the bank. I was blocking it. I didn't want this guy in the bank for my own good. This was my job to pick the best clients for the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he had a secret deal with my boss. My boss wanted him in the bank because he's going to get a kickback from this $50 million loan. That was wow, incredible revelation. I couldn't believe it because this guy that hired me just a few months earlier was a public speaker, a public figure in Puerto Rico. I mean, very nice image. and very intelligent. I mean, for me as a banker, he was a role model. I would like to be like him. So I couldn't believe that this was true. This was my first ayahuasca experience. I was driving back home, very disappointed about my first ayahuasca experience, and speaking alone by myself, driving my car, saying, "God, I don't believe this, God. If you want me to believe in this, I need proof, okay? I need proof." And then I went on, go back to my job, forget about it. Ayahuasca is not for me. I thought that it was something that it was better than that. So left there. 2 weeks later, I mean, no ayahuasca, no anything. My boss called me, and this secret deal was about some, black magic Santeria, like the deep evil thing. These blood sacrifices to animals. Santeria is very prevalent in Caribbean. This from Haiti, the voodoo, all this black magic thing. So the revelation of ayahuasca was these guys were like blood brothers into that. To be careful, okay, I don't believe these guys possible. I couldn't believe that. So, but 2 weeks later, I went to the office of my boss. And he said, "Let me give you a business card of a guy I met last night in a cocktail. So you call him, invite him to lunch, and maybe you can bring him as a client. He's a nice guy, okay, give me the business card." So when he opens his wallet on top of his desk to pull off the business card, a black magic amulet fell from his wallet. It's an amulet. It's something that you prepare for good luck or protection or whatever. And I knew something about that. I'm from the Caribbean. I was a grown-up man. I knew what it was. I could recognize it. And then I look like to the window, like I'm not noticing that. And then probably it would go by without any kind of implication. But when I saw him like hesitantly trying to put it back, like he didn't want me to see it, that triggered my so it accidentally fell from his wallet. This is something that he carried for protection from bad spirits or enemies or whatever. So he said, well, that's interesting. So I grabbed the business card. "Oh, thank you, boss." And walking in the long hallway from his big office, walking to the elevator, I heard this voice from ayahuasca, my higher spirit, God, whatever. And I was holding the card, walking to the elevator, thinking about what I just experienced and trying to make something out of it. What was that? And this voice said, "Did you want it proof?" Like, this is the proof you were asking for when you were disappointed after the ayahuasca experience 2 weeks earlier. This voice, I look around, what? Wow, this is the proof. So I went down to my office, called the ayahuasca organizer. "When is the next ceremony? I'm going there. This is incredible." So it was the beginning of a journey that, still goes on today. But this is very unusual, very unusual. That doesn't normally happen. I mean, normally people get impressed right there on the spot and they leave the ceremony transformed. For me, it was like, no, that's not for me. I was transformed later when that hit me. Yeah. And I explain that because I'm very hard-headed, very nerdy, intellectual, and I was too structured, not allowing ayahuasca to give me the average experience that most people get. I was like encased in this egoism or whatever it was that didn't allow me to have a full experience. But that cracked the egg. That opened light from above, and that was the beginning of my journey.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing how we need that validation from the universe to really give us that final shove out the airplane, like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so I wonder if you could. I see, Lynn, I see your question in the comments, so we'll make sure that we come back to that to the actual experience. But I wondered if we could go a little high level. And one of Jules Henry's books is called Ayahuasca Wisdom, and here's the subtitle, friends: Achieving Personal Spiritual Healing with a Quantum Model of the Psyche. So, Jules, could you speak to, in any order and in any way that is here for you right now, a little bit about what does personal spiritual healing mean, as you've been an educator and a guide for so many over decades? And then let's talk a little bit about what is the quantum model of the psyche that you teach of.
Well, I think the personal spiritual healing is the thing that consciously or unconsciously we are looking for. I mean, probably the viewers of this podcast now, you as interviewers, all our quest for fire, as I call it, finding new techniques, new books, the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for what the curiosity, what's behind the veil. All these things are subconscious drives from our soul seeking personal and spiritual healing, because we all carry childhood trauma beginning in the womb before we were born. All this emotion from the mother, all these insecurities that were our mothers having, maybe undesired child, maybe fighting with the husband or not having a husband. Well, all these things are embedded in our nervous system when we are being formed as a fetus. So and that's just the beginning. Not to mention, our first year that we never remember what it was, because our brain was not developed enough to have memory channels. Our brain is not developed enough. So there's a lot that we subconsciously want to resolve, and these are contradictions. And we want to do this, but we do another thing. And we go into this diet to lose weight, but we keep gaining weight. And what's going on? Why they cannot stop smoking? I quit for 3 months and then I start smoking again. And we have all these contradictions that we carry, and this comes from childhood. And that's why personal spiritual healing is. We use the word spiritual because spiritual thing, the psyche is the spirit. It's psychology. The study of psychology has tried to diminish the soul or devalue what the soul is. And over the years, the study of psychology since Freud on have stolen attributes from the soul and put it in this box of psychology. And basically the concept of soul is empty. Now we talk about soul and we don't know exactly what it is, because subconscious mind, dreams, all these have replaced or substituted attributes of the mind, of the soul. But all this is the soul: dreaming, thought, wishes, desires, all emotions. This is the soul. All these have been stolen from the soul and put in this box of psychology. But this is what personal spiritual healing means. Spiritual includes all our psyche or our psychology. So that's the first question. The second question was about what was the
quantum model of the psyche.
Quantum model. So over the years, I think that ayahuasca or psychedelics or the higher self, this is a realm that we know nothing about. And other guests that you have, the spirits communication, this and that, and dimensions. This is too big for our little brain to grab. So I leave it there, always there, this mystery out there, because who am I to say this is the way it is? I'm no one to say that. So, but this is a quest that we all looking for, and it's something that is in our hearts, and this is what all that we want to do in our lives, is to consciously or unconsciously resolve and leave this world reconciled and in peace to join our journey beyond our death.
Beautifully said.
That's heaven. That's that. That's all I want in this lifetime. If I can exit on my final breath with everything is neutral, right? It's just neutral. There's nothing to resolve in the next one. It's peaceful and it's neutral and full of love. Like,
yes, true.
That's all I want. And there are oftentimes people.
So sorry. So talk about quantum. So let me go back to quantum. So over the years, in my quest, drinking ayahuasca, I started because of my upbringing with science, always being to quantum physics, this and that, and reading about the latest discoveries in astronomy, in science, in physics, in chemistry. I'll be very, very inclined to explore that physical world. So I started receiving, ayahuasca started giving me a lot of insights about myself to resolve my own contradictions. And I in my process, I realized the quantum nature of myself. I mean, because I have this quantum paradigm. So the ayahuasca, what it does, it uses what you already have in your brain to show you your own path. So a Buddhist, which is Buddhism, this and that, and start drinking ayahuasca, start understanding his own path in Buddhist terms.
Yes.
An atheist that doesn't believe in anything, or at least that's what they say, start drinking ayahuasca, start learning about themselves in non-theological terms, no gods about it, about realities of life. Ayahuasca is going to teach you as an atheist. If you're a Christian, some people see Jesus and talk to Jesus, and so ayahuasca addresses in the costume that you need to show you the truth. So in my case, which was a so-called amateur scientist, okay, this is why, here you go. And then she showed me the quantum nature, this and that, and this X-shaped aura that we all have. And psychics can attest to that. But I was shown in terms of science. And I realized that our selves do not reside in the brain. You cannot find thoughts in the brain. You cannot find the images that go through your eyes and your retina, and they go flip upside down, and they are digitalized and going somewhere in your brain. And then you see this monitor, and then you see this computer. But where's the computer? Where's the computer screen in my brain projecting that computer that I'm watching with my eyes? So you don't find it. So it's much more complex than brain cells. So it's in my opinion, or this is what has been shown, all this happens in the quantum field, and the brain cells are only, the neurons are only the electrical circuits that make this
the receivers,
the receiver, the antenna of what is happening in the quantum field. So we are all quantum field eggs. That's when our physical body is buried in the cemetery. When we die, this continues, and this is a journey that. And so in the meantime, we are attached to this bag of skin for 70, 80, 900 years to have an experience and learning in this school, and this meaning of life that most people try to find is closer to your nose than you think. So it's so that's what the quantum model. So I developed this model as a communication vehicle or tool between psychedelic assisted therapists and their patients, because the model that exists, the old models like ego, superego, all the different Adler model and this Carl Jung model, the collective unconscious, all these models, there's a book that I bought about models, and it's about 50 models of the psyche, and but they're about old models, because in the psychedelic renaissance that we are living, and the psychedelic experience requires a new model of the psyche, because ego, superego are just boxes and concepts that you have in your mind, but it doesn't fit exactly the experience, psychedelic experience that you having when you do psychedelics. Mm-hmm. So relating to those models with psychedelic experience is much more the psychedelic experience is much more advanced than these outdated models. So I thought I need to develop a new model that's congruent, consistent with the psychedelic experience. And I developed the quantum model of the mind, because when it gets popular in therapies, and it gets popular in patients, then we have a common language for communications. Mm. The therapists can develop exercises, visualizations, exercises, or whatever they want to create with the model, and have a much more effective communication and effective results from whatever therapy the therapist wants to practice with this patient. So there was an intention of publishing this model, throwing it there in the universe. One day, 20 years, some psychologist would pick it up and would say, "Hey, this can be useful to develop techniques for this, for that, based on the model." Mm-hmm. And communications is so important. When the therapist speaks about something, the patient understands, they interact, and then they have a common language, and they're in the same playing field. And that's what my little contribution was intended to.
Okay, so my creative brain is in overdrive right now of, Julio, let's film a training program for therapists.
Well.
That is very exciting to me. So I will be reaching out to you for that. I've been listening.
Write it down.
We need him to handle all the politicians too. Don't forget, he's got.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a question about your book. Is asking, is your book easy to comprehend?
Well, yes and no. No, I mean, no, because the books takes you by the hand and tells you what you need to know, with reference if you want to have additional information, additional readings about whatever I'm talking about all along the way. So I can take you by the hand. Is at least you need to be capable of understanding the spirit world, the quantum nature. I mean, what the quantum field. I have a full chapter explaining what the quantum field is. And what is the quantum field? The quantum field is this blanket that covers the entire universe, including ourselves, Earth, planets, galaxies. Is this absolute? For some people, they call it God. It's the everything and everything. It's like, in terms of experience, I say one of my presentations, the absolute, the quantum field is anything that has ever happened, is anything that is happening, and it's anything that will happen, in addition to ever that could have happened and never happened, anything that could have happened now and it's not happening, and anything that may happen and would not happen. So it's the total, it's the potential of everything and the actual crystallization of everything. So cannot get bigger than that, you know? So, and within that, we are little bags of eggs of energy that resonate with our genetic code, because we all have this genetic code, unique to us. That's why DNA exists, DNA sampling and identification, because it's unique to us, like fingerprints. So all these billions of cells resonating with that unique frequency keep our egg together and give us our sense of identity and our sense of we are something, our sense that we are not diluted in the whole absolute. Oh, I am Julio, I'm Jules. Okay, so this is give me this ego. That's the origin of the ego, is the sense of me. But this is an illusion. We're just part of it. So this is the duality of reality, that you are you, but you are not you at the same time. So so this is what,
I am
as
you,
long as you
you are
can
me,
get,
and we are all together.
as, as long as you can understand that, it's a very easy reading book.
Now I'm going to share your, or Laura, I'll send
If you have a problem with that, don't even buy it. I mean,
Now,
don't try. Don't even try. I mean,
and
because
you have
that's
one,
what that's like when in college, that they have the prerequisite to have this course. You have to take math 102. You need to pass math 101. So this is the math 101 that you need to pass before reading this book. Understanding that this is like an incredible blanket that covers everything, and this is, you call it God or whatever, and all your perception of the universe is just subsets of this quantum field. You pass that 101, read the book, it's going to be incredible.
And Julio, Jules, if it's okay with you, we'll share the website link that has the links to those wonderful videos that you and Brian recorded that do break down the chapters of your book. So
right. That's a good idea. Yes.
So to pair up these free videos, friends, we'll share the link with you with the book if you're interested.
Yes. That book is explained
in the video series. It's
verbally by me, with Brian Ross, who interviewed me. He was fascinated with this book and saying we need to do a series to break it down in pieces, and people can understand and grab it. So all these concepts are explained by me in detail in a 10 episode podcast series with Brian. It's in my website. Yes.
So we'll make sure you have that link. And then your second book, I wondered if you could speak to a bit about, it's called Ayahuasca Unveiled, and here's the subtitle: Healing Unresolved Emotions with
Unresolved.
Yeah, unresolved emotions with the departed and the unborn. Can you tell us about the case studies in
that? Is very touching book.
Yeah, tell us about this.
I mean, if I have the Ayahuasca wisdom, which is like
I got goosebumps just hearing the title. Interesting. I'll have to pick up a copy.
Yes. All this, your audience that are into spirits and all that. This book is gonna be moving, very emotional. You're gonna cry. It's very well written in terms of storytelling, and I can explain you briefly what the book is about. But it's the balance of the first book. The first book is more intellectual, more rational, and more about the description of reality and of the model, and a lot of things about ayahuasca wisdom that is beyond the minutes that we have here to explain. That's why we have the 10 episodes. But this book is the emotional part of that book. This is the experiences that I have found with participants in my own ceremonies, which I have witnessed with my own eyes, interviewing participants before the ceremony and interviewing the participant right after the ceremony, drinking hot soup and on the bonfire, what happened, and learning firsthand when that people is telling me about their experience. And I included some of those stories. This book is about 20 stories, but I get you into that. So the first book ends with 9 stories, with that intention of balancing. The book is mostly left brain, and I wrote a bonus section of the book for the right brain, which is more storytelling, this and that. The reviews I got from the first book about those stories was incredibly cool. I love it. So I was and I saw that there's a thirst from the audience to know more about those things that happened during the experience. And I say, okay. So I got inspired with those feedbacks, and decided to write this second book. So when I started coming up with the stories I'm going to put in the second book, I realized that there was a common thing about people that connect with the departed in during the ayahuasca experience. If you were uh, neglecting your mother when she was in the hospital, and then she passed away, and then you feel guilty, and you're carrying that guilt for years, and you drink ayahuasca, and your mother comes in the ayahuasca experience and say, "It's okay, son, I'm good, you're good." Wow, this release from this guilt by your own mother, telling you it's fine. I mean, that's really moving. So that's one experience, one kind of. So I see 20 of those experiences. I say, wait a minute, let's write a book only about those. And then I realized while watching this Netflix series about this psychic it's a medium that was connecting and answering questions to family members. And hey, wait a minute, this ayahuasca turns you into a medium temporarily for a few minutes so you can fix or reconcile this problem that you have with the departed, your mother, your uncle, your son, whatever. And once you resolve it, you turn it off and you're not a medium anymore. I mean, it's like mediumship on demand. Ayahuasca opens the channel of mediumship as it is like a switch. You connect, you reconcile, you heal spiritually, disconnect, and then you wanted to talk to your mother again, but it doesn't happen. It's just the magic of ayahuasca that allows you to resolve this, because this is what you need. Okay, mediumship mode, push that button. Ayahuasca allows you to resolve it. Okay, push that button off. Thank you very much. You're good. Next. I mean, ayahuasca is incredible. This is the way I put it, to just to have fun, but it's more profound than that. But these are 20 stories about people that connect, and the unborn part. I mean, abortions, miscarriages, things that have like that, or even souls of babies that never made it to the crib. Okay, they come to these mothers and talk to them and talk, and speak to them, telling them mother this, mother that, and that. Just imagine, I'm not a woman, but just imagine if have an abortion or a miscarriage. The mother always carries this grief. This always carries this thing that some of them are able to, and most of them will put it in the closet and forget about it because it's the best way to deal with that. But some of them carry this, and from time to time, this thought comes. And I have never have done that. It was right. It was not right. All these doubts about these situations, and you drink ayahuasca, and if your problem is big enough, ayahuasca will open the gates of mediumship. This baby will come, talk to you, will appease your soul, and will live away, and you'll be like a new mother, a new woman. Because when you release from that by the spirit of the baby that once you carry, it doesn't. There's no psychologist, there's no pills that could do something like that, and you are like a new woman. From some woman that cannot conceive new babies after an abortion, have that kind of release and healing, and then they fall pregnant in the next few months. Like it was obstructing your reproductive system, and at the energy level, this guilt of subconsciously you didn't want to have another baby, although consciously you thought you were ready for. But once you clear that, then you felt pregnant. Things like that. This book is very very special. It just I just love when I read it after I finished and got my first uh, printed copy. Just cried again. It's so profound. And then at the last chapter, I explain again. I cannot help it. My scientific mind inserted there the last chapter, my scientific interpretation on how that happens, uh, which is I developed the concept of. It's a new concept that probably would be more explained more in detail in my next book, because I'm already having this brainstorm about my next book. I don't know how it's going to come out, but it seems that it's being written so upstairs somewhere, and I would write it one day. And it's a concept of spiritual homeostasis. How do you call it? Pronounce it correctly? Homeostasis.
Homeostasis, yeah, yeah.
Homeostasis. Yeah, this is a physical thing. I mean, our body finds balance, and they have infinite chemical feedback loops in our body. This hormone, this secretes and activates this other hormone, and it's incredible. I mean, you run too much, or it pumps your heart, and then you find balance. So there's physical homeostasis. So I developed in chapter 6 the concept of psychological homeostasis. Psychological homeostasis is a concept. It's a new concept. I researched the internet. I couldn't find it. Just a couple. Oh, it's my idea, I think, but I don't know. Maybe I find a scientific papers talking about it. Hey, no, here it is. But I don't care. It's just I just rediscovered this. So when you are mad at your husband or your boyfriend because he did or this or that, it's some psychological balance, and you are like, look at what he did, this and that, or look at what she did, look at that. And then you go to the beach, sit down, calm down, and suddenly you get this balance. You say, oh, it's okay. So, man, all right, well, and in itself, your psychology, your brain, your soul finds a way of balance. Either you decide you're no longer emotional about it, or you integrate it to where you already know, or past memories, or somehow you, well, okay, it's okay. I mean, I'm gonna deal with this. So you found psychological balance. So there's a mechanism in your soul that promotes psychological homeostasis. There's the same homeostasis in the same way that it promotes physical homeostasis. And then I brought it a step further, and this was inspiration from these 20 stories, that somehow your soul creates these stories to find spiritual homeostasis, because our spirit wants balance to get enlightened, to continue growing up. This is so if there's something stopping you from continuing your growth, your spiritual growth, your soul come up with a story, be real or not, that makes this balance again. And this woman that have this issue with this abortion, now it doesn't have it, gets pregnant, move on, and continues her journey. So this is the value I find in psychedelics in general, beyond ayahuasca, psilocybin, and others. I'm an ayahuasca advocate, but I acknowledge and recognize the potential power of other psychedelics. Yeah, the psychedelics untangle this mess and allows your soul to foster a spiritual homeostasis that is only possible. Sometimes it happens spontaneously without psychedelics. Sometimes this problem that is bothering you for some time, and suddenly, okay, it comes from above. It's sort of we all of us have experienced this once or twice in our lifetimes, that without any kind of psychology we find this peace that we attribute to Jesus, to God, or to whatever. But suddenly, spontaneously, without any kind of psychedelics, you find this spiritual homeostasis. But with psychedelics, it's much more easier, So this is why I'm a promoter and an advocate of psychedelics in this psychedelic renaissance, because I think is good for the spirit, for humankind, to advance civilization in the next 100 years.
Well, if you think about it, even the human brain produces its own psychedelics. It creates DMT. They said even the human brain creates its own psychedelics because we have DMT that our brain makes.
Right. We have our own built-in thing for that.
We have our own psychedelics built into the brain.
We have this DMT trip every night that we go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's embedded in our creation.
So technically, my brain is illegal right now.
Right. That's a powerful argument for the federal government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we don't realize that we're accessing those parts of our brain when we have a lot of these experiences. Even one of my most profound experiences I ever had was an out-of-body experience. And without DMT, that never would have happened.
Right. So I'm a psychedelic guy, I want it. Go ahead, legalize, come on, experience, have your integration, so important, and make it part of your spiritual growth. It's about spirit.
Absolutely. I'm big into mushrooms myself. That's my favorite. But ayahuasca, I went to Peru. I've tried it. I've had the experience, and it was one of the most profound experiences I ever had. And it's funny because I remember asking my soul guides, I was frustrated because I didn't see anything. I had no visions whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And I asked my guides, like, why am I not seeing anything? And they said, you're used to seeing things all the time. You take mushrooms too much. Today isn't about seeing. It's about feeling and healing. And so they were like, no, we're not giving you any visions. That's why, they were like,
right.
They're like, we know what you're after, and that's not what you're going to get this time.
Right.
They know what you need.
No, it's incredible. I mean, the ayahuasca saw my hard-headedness, okay, you need some, different kind of treatment. Let me hit you with this. Boom,
Absolutely.
So it's amazing that the infinite wisdom, either from God, higher self, spirit, or our own unconscious machine. Who knows? This is too deep for me. I have to acknowledge my ignorance.
Yes. Somebody asked, would that help with PTSD?
Of course, it happens all the time. I have a program with an alliance with these veterans, military veterans organization, to give them ayahuasca to military veterans that come up with from Afghanistan, from Iraq, all this. This terrible situation is part of my social contribution to the world, because when I start looking at the statistics, they're talking about 10,000 suicides of veterans.
I know. It's one of the things that really upsets me so much. I talk about it all the time.
Per year.
Every 30 seconds, they say.
For the last 10 years.
Yep.
10,000 per year. Suicide veterans that have served this country. Yeah. And they're frustrated with the bunch of pills that they give them in the Veterans Administration Hospital. And
it's worse than that too. One of my friends had suicidal thoughts, and
they go into deeper depressions.
Yep.
and they do the unthinkable. And under this program that they take veterans to Costa Rica and to Colombia and to Peru in groups of 10 or 20. And have them have this incredible transformation. And if you Google about it in YouTube, you're going to see all these testimonials about veterans that were totally transformed, and they come back and start doing their own missions, helping other veterans. All these veterans organizations that are helping veterans with psychedelics, including ayahuasca, were transformed themselves with the psychedelics. That's what they're doing, these organizations, because they say, no, I have to pay forward to my fellows and do something for them. And they come up with these programs. And I have been working with them as facilitator. It's incredible how powerful it could be to veterans. So yes.
Thank you, Daniela. Daniela just sent me your website, so I'll put that in the comments here. for everyone.
And on the website, friends, what you'll see there is the free 10 video series that walks you through some of the chapters of ayahuasca wisdom, and links to both of Jules's books.
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. So what is your main goal right now in the work that you're doing? Is this
that's my personal website that I designed myself? You know, I'm 67. I'm doing web design now. My own website. So I'm open to recommendations and suggestions about change this color or do that. All those website designers out there, I'm open to tips and recommendations. So, I mean, this is my first website. I designed it. So I just learned the technology in Wix.com and start, playing with it. Hey, wait a minute, this is not that hard. And I did my first website. It's about my personal book author website. So open to recommendations, guys. If you're those experts out there, help me.
We've got lots of opinions in this community, so you never know.
Well, maybe I get overwhelmed by them, right? In my website, there's my email, so you can talk to me directly.
Wonderful.
Any questions or about the book or whatever, I'm here to help.
So can you walk us through a general how you would lead a ceremony? What are some of the things that you would introduce for the ceremony? Just so people have a good idea what to expect or experience, maybe.
Okay, yeah. There's several formats of ayahuasca sessions. One is the most traditional and well known, which is the shamanic format from South America.
That's what I had, yeah.
The shamans in Peru, the taitas in Colombia with the yahe, and the huasca in the Brazilian tribes, and it's basically laying down on the ground with some blanket or pillow and just wait for the effects, and you end up vomiting. There's also the religious format of the Santo Daime, which is a lot of dancing and chanting in the ceremony. There's the format from the União de Vegetal from Brazil. It's another church, UDV, which is legal in the United States, which is a different kind of, is in a sitting position with background music and some chanting too from the mestre or the leader of the session, leading the session. So different formats. I have facilitated in the Brazilian format, and I have facilitated in the shamanic format. The shamanic format, which is I'm going to describe in my case, which is the most well known, and what people would probably be interested. For the ayahuasca session is important. So such important. First thing from the top, set and setting. I mean, this therapeutic principle of setting.
That's like the number one rule for any psychedelic. We have to
start with that on the top.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that first.
It's like it's so influential in your actual experience that cannot be overlooked. So if you don't follow set and setting guidelines, you're playing with fire. You're gonna end up with less than optimal results. You're gonna end up with problems between or after the ceremony on the participants. So it's such important. So I've never conduct a ceremony if those conditions are not met. So I would never do lead a ceremony indoors in any apartment or house. Period. And that's not in my book. If there is a house, I have to have a couple of acres outside with some vegetation and non-distracting. A potential intervention from neighbors. I have to be a safe place where, for 4 hours, I cannot risk having a neighbor coming, complaining about noises or something throwing up or something starts someone starts screaming emotionally during the experience. I mean, you don't want the police knocking your door in the middle of the ceremony because the neighbor called because some strange sounds are coming from that property. So the place where it's done I must feel comfortable with it. I'm very demanding with that. So it must be in a retreat center, in a temple, maybe on a indoors, maybe if the conditions are met on a comfortable and good energy yoga studio, maybe, you know, with plants and this and with no problems around any problem. Maybe I can do an exception indoors, but for a handful of big ceremonies, just 5, 7 on a good space, good background music, good energy. Because yoga studios have good energy by definition because people are there working on themselves physically. This quantum field of the yoga studio, it gets this energy. That's why sacred places, churches, and places in India, these sacred spots have this energy, and you can feel it. So it has to have a good energy, and there's no specific rule. But you're asking me about me, so in my case, I would need to go, feel, touch, smell the place where the ceremony is going to be handled. You know, that's number one. Set and setting. Second is the preparation of the participant. Uh, I don't I don't begin a ceremony without probably previous online or personal orientation about what it's all about, what you're getting into. Are you aware of what's going to happen? Have you done your research? Have you read books? Have you watched some videos about what ayahuasca is? So, and exactly before ceremony, I spent at least 30 minutes explaining what is this about, and what can happen, and what cannot happen, and if this happens, this is what happens. No, don't get scared, because what happens in the ayahuasca session is that the ayahuasca open the gates of your subconscious,
Yes.
and the whole hell breaks loose. I mean, the default mode network in your brain, which is this area of your brain that keeps everything together and gives you the impression that you are one person, gets disabled with ayahuasca. And then suddenly all things come from everywhere and you lose your identity. This kind of ego death kind of thing that people describe is this subconscious free format, no format, no coherence, crazy. So, and that's where you learn what's going on in your closet, and that's where you learn the areas of work that you need to prioritize. Uh, so yeah, so I explain all that before the ceremony. So, and it helps them a lot because during the session, after the session, they tell me, "Thank you, Jules, for telling me that." Because when I experienced that, oh, this is what Julio was saying in the introduction. Okay, don't worry about it. So it helps you because it clicks later during the experience what I just said, and keeps the experience in check. Probably Daniela can say something about it because she had this experience also, and she remembers the introductions that I did before the ceremony.
Yeah, having what I really appreciate about Jules's integrity as a facilitator is how we had conversations well before I was even accepted, right, to come and or to participate. And there was a really thorough job done explaining what typically happens so that in the process, there's that voice of just saying, this is what's going to happen. And I knew I was able to guide myself and stay grounded during some moments that were really intense. You know, like Jules said at the beginning, there's nothing like a first time. and that won't ever be recreated. And it is the vine of death. And my very first experience, that was exactly how it began. I was just like, hey, let's go through the death process. And I was like holding on to the sand. And it was like, she's like, you're coming. So how do you want to do this? How do you want to do this? Do you want to fight, or do you want to relax? So it's so because there was such a thorough job done, and I really appreciate the integrity that he brings to that work, because there are some places online you can just register yourself and go. And that to me is very risky. It isn't for everyone all the time. There are many medicines in the world, and it's important to see with a skillful guide, is this the right time for you? What's calling to you? Tell me about why you're interested, and to really suss that out so you know if this is an appropriate match for you.
Sure.
And the larger the group, I've noticed that the less personal the experience gets. It really is, at least in my experience, I would have had a better connection, I think, if I wasn't so distracted by everybody else around me. There was about 15 other people in the room, and it was so distracting, to say the least.
True. There's people that don't get distracted, not even how much noise is around. I mean, they just disconnect, and 2 hours later they come back and say, oh,
you can tell those people too,
there's
they were so
playing.
loud.
There's music playing in the room. Oh, cool. They realize that 2 hours later, because they were just gone. And there's people that try to take off, and these noises do not allow them to do it. But this is telling you something about yourself. It's a project. It's always a projection. I mean, if that is your case, that probably tells you a lot about your personality and how you deal with others. Probably you get bothered by many things, of little things by others.
It was funny. I spent half of my trip trying to console the person next to me, because she was crying and like endlessly crying, and I was completely out of it. And yet here I could hear her crying, and it made me want to help her. You know what I mean? Even while I was completely gone myself.
Yeah. There's a tendency that some people are more how do you call it? So people that identify a lot with the emotions of others.
Empaths.
Empath. Yes. Yeah. So the people have empath tendencies. They get. It's harder for them to take off, let's say, because they start listening to this crying or moan from the others, and she's suffering so much, she probably have these problems, and this guy is going to the bathroom 3 times, probably he's having this. I start worrying about
there was the girl next to me sounded like she was being raped. I hate to say it, but she was really screaming her head off at one point, and she was in her own little world. She didn't seem to understand what was even going on. And that's why I was so, but this is why I say it can be a very different experience for every single individual.
Totally. It's custom made for you. I mean, you get exactly, there's a saying in ayahuasca that you don't get what you want, you get what you need. And sometimes you don't have a slightest idea of what you need. You are all into what you want. I want to be more this bad person of this kind. I want to be this. I want to be more whatever, but that's not what you need. Ayahuasca is going to give you what you need, and so sometimes it's totally unexpected, and that could take us to the next point. You're asking me about my own.
And most people didn't remember what they were going through that night either. The next day we were talking about it, and they didn't remember any of what I could remember what they were going through. They had no idea.
But that person, in the next few days, will feel different.
Yes. Something
happened. Something happened. Sometimes you don't need to be aware of that. Yes. It's like a surgeon that did something in your organs. You don't need to know exactly how many stitches he took, and you don't need to know exactly how he removed the organ or changed whatever.
It's a great analogy.
You just feel better, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't need to know. Sometimes you need to know exactly. So as I said, ayahuasca gives you what you need.
You're on a need to know basis.
Need to know basis. Need to know basis. Yes. Right. Right. So the next thing is about integration after the ceremony. So important. As you said, people that don't know what's going on after the ceremony, they may end up confused.
Yes.
What was that? What that means? So I help them, and this is why I wrote this book. This book is about 20 people that after the ceremony, I was doing integration with them, and making sure that they put all the pieces together and able to go back home with some consistent understanding of what happened, and how you can use it for the future and for your well-being. So yes, so that summarizes. Sometimes I get calls or emails from people that have taken ayahuasca with me weeks and sometimes months later, that I gladly call back and spend a few minutes, try to understand the situation and give them guidance about how to go about that. Yeah. So
how about we often talk about microdosing with mushrooms. What about Aya? Have people ever microdose with it?
Yeah. Yes. There's a underestimated value of the medicinal value of the vine without the chacruna. There's two ingredients: the chacruna and the vine. The chacruna provides the DMT, which is the psychedelic part, which is the illegal part, and that's why it's not more popular in the U.S. But the harmine, and it's a family of chemicals about tetrahydrocarmine, harmine itself, harmanol is a harmine chemical family that resides in the vine and has incredible healing qualities for all kind of neuro degenerative conditions, Parkinson's, whatever, all those things, that Alzheimer, all the things that have to do with the brain. Harming is very powerful healing. So microdosing is highly recommended. The problem is to get the harming. I mean, you can get it with Syrian root, which is illegal. You can order online. The chemical in the Syrian root is the same chemical in the vine of ayahuasca. It's hard to get. It's hard to get ayahuasca vine, although you can find it online too, or you can buy online ayahuasca vines. Little garden nursery. They're sold, and you get it overnight, and when you receive them, they're in good condition and alive.
Is there ever concern of people just going into the jungle and hacking down vines themselves and selling them online and kind of ruining things for other people? I'm just curious how careful we have to be about purchasing these things.
No, but you need chacruna to make a psychedelic. Right. Harming is psychedelic just in very, very high doses. But you need a lot of harming.
I just mean in general, if people want to microdose with it, if they want to purchase their own, I'm just wondering how you would be able to do that without ethically, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Saying. Ayahuasca, the vine in itself, without the chacruna, okay? This is not ayahuasca. This is a plant, like a botanical product.
I know. I'm just mean in general for people. They just kind of raid the forests nowadays and take botanicals out of the forest. Is what I'm saying.
That's another problem. Peru, for example, there's an industry of selling vine to the shaman that cook it to do the.
Oh. So they're actually cultivating these things. They're not. They're actually like setting farms.
And the market has grown up so much that now you have ayahuasca vine farms.
That's what I was trying to boil down to. I want to make sure that not everybody's running into the rainforest and robbing it of the vines.
But to have ayahuasca vine for cooking, for ayahuasca brew, for ayahuasca medicine, for ceremonial use. This vine needs to be thick enough, and that would take years before an ayahuasca plantation can be harvested. So there's always a deficit because the demand is expanding so much. So, but every time ayahuasca harvesters, let's call it like that, these local people that go into the forest to cut and pull it out and sell it by the kilo to the shamans that cook it. So this industry, they have to go deeper and deeper into the Amazon forest to find it because it's being depleted. Yeah, that is a problem. But
thank you.
The good news is that ayahuasca continues to grow. That's what I'm saying, that you can buy a little plant because they are sold online, plant it in your house, okay? Take care of it, be your pet plant, and cut those leaves and do tea of vine only, no chacruna, not psychedelic experience, just the very healing chemicals that the plant has, and have tea and microdose with that regularly, and the more, and you don't need to have a thick vine, just the leaves and the stems of that plant that continues to grow, and it grows slow at the beginning, but then it picks up and can take over any tree that you can put it besides to. So so it keeps coming, and if you can cook it, you can reduce it, you can do more intense, more concentrated, less concentrated, and drink it regularly. It's very good for all kinds of I have provided that tea to others. I mean, there's a child with this, what's the name of the condition? Cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy. It's a 6-year-old girl in wheelchair that have never spoken. I mean, speak. No, only eye movements and facial gesture with her mother and smile and all that, but doesn't speak. So she's in a special educational program, of course, and the mother started giving this to her, and then suddenly, like 3 months later, she gets a call from the teacher, from the teacher in school, which was totally unaware that the girl was drinking this kind of microdosing, and is asking the mother what kind of treatment, what kind of medicine, or what are you doing with Sandy? Let's call her name, because she's much more aware. She's looking around. She wants to talk, and she starts to babble, and she looks like she's having progress. What's going on? Well, we're praying to God, she doesn't want to tell them. She don't want to be accused by the school that she's giving drugs to her child. So she kept it secret. But the fact is that she's very happy with the microdosing, this child, and is making incredible improvements. Starting to talk, is starting to speak to her mother. Little words here and there. You can associate that with the normal development because now she's 7, but the mother is convinced that this is because of the tea that is giving to the child.
I bet that plant carries a very high vibration, and when you make a tea, you're probably imbibing some of that vibration.
And the energy of the mother for your own child. I mean, you put that in the tea too. I mean, when the Harmon was discovered in Syrian root in Middle East, it's a Middle Eastern plant. You can find it in Texas also. When you go to online, you can buy it. But the Middle Eastern tradition about the use of Syrian root tea and the plant, hot water, was the traditional remedy for centuries to people with Parkinson, older people that if you see an old man trembling like that, the traditional remedy for that for centuries in Pakistan, Arab states, Syria, where Syrian root, uh, all this Palestine, all that, it was Syrian root tea for your grandpa that is going like that. So there's some wisdom in the plant.
The old medicines, they know best.
They know best. They know best. So yes, and they found that it has incredible neurological properties, the harming. So that's the long answer to your question about microdosing with the ayahuasca. The vine only, and don't forget about the chacruna. That's is like the magic on the potion that gives the psychedelic experience and opens the subconscious. It's another kind of experience, but just for botanical medicinal properties, the vine alone is an incredible medicine. Forget about the psychedelic experience. It is very good for any kind of.
It reminds me of like CBD and THC.
For your brain. It's a brain medicine. You find all these supplements about brain boosters, this and that, and none of them beat the ayahuasca in itself. The one that you find in the Syrian root, which is the same chemical. I'm referring to Syrian root because it's very hard to, unless you find a little plant and you grow it, buy Syrian root online, and you have the same molecules. So you can benefit as if you're drinking vine only with Syrian root, same chemical. So that's my recommendation to microdose harming.
Jules, how would somebody know if exploring psilocybin versus ayahuasca would be for them? I remember when we chatted, you were describing the more cerebral effects of one versus the more embodied experience of the other. How would somebody know what direction to go in if they wanted to explore?
Well, try it.
Great answer. Baby steps, I'm starting with microdosing, see how you feel, work your way up.
Just try it on error.
I really don't recommend somebody that's never tried psychedelics to go and do an ayahuasca trip, because that's kind of, like.
So yeah, the caveat is
work yourself up to it,
like, the caveat is not to mix them.
Yes.
And not to do it too close to each other. I mean, if you drink ayahuasca, don't go next week to try psilocybin. And bufo, and this and that. Now we're getting into so many things that people are into this psychedelic marathon, that they call it now. It's like trying, and now the cannonball this week, and they go next week and they try psilocybin, and they go drink ayahuasca. And this is a formula for disaster.
One thing I did notice is a profound difference is the connection. I feel a deeper connection to Gaia when I do Aya versus when I take mushrooms. It's more of a deeper connection to myself versus a deeper connection with Mother Nature, and I should say Pachamama. Because I did feel her presence.
My experience, because I have done them all in my exploration journey. The mushrooms, the psilocybin is more, as Daniela say, more cerebral, more intellectual, more understanding. So you can, in a high dose mushroom experience, not the microdosing, but do the real thing. You can fall into this psychedelic state where you realize this, for example, this trauma. You saw that you were raped when you were 7, and you forgot about it, and the experience of mushrooms, you saw it and you were convinced, yes, this happened. It was my uncle, this and that. It was buried in my subconscious closet. It came out with mushroom. Wow, look at that, and you understand that this experience that you had as a childhood. And that could be a healing experience in itself, but it's only at the consciousness level, at the understanding level. And sometimes understanding alone doesn't heal you, okay?
You
just
can almost
knowing
even
that happened.
re-traumatize yourself to a
It's
degree.
still there. I mean, you're still reacting to the male figure with caution. You don't trust men for some reason. Now you understand all that, and that now you understand what happened when you had with this boyfriend when you were 17. Ah, okay, and you can make all these connections, but you still have the trauma. Okay,
Exactly. Yes.
so but in ayahuasca, she brings you to the rape. You cry and you suffer the rape again, and you relive the experience. And that's what was happening to your neighbor in your ceremony, probably. I was raping, I
I
was
think
raped,
so.
oh, I
Yeah.
was raped, oh my God. So I'm being raped. So you relieve, and that releases the emotional energy of the trauma. And then you feel good. And then you change permanently with your attitude towards men or this and that. Now you go, oh, okay, because now you see the pattern of behavior coming, but you cut it before it gets to you, because now
Yes.
you're out of it. The patterns continues to try to get over you, but now you see it before it turns the corner. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. No. Now I know, because you're free from it. So this is a difference. The different kind of healings. More is more understanding and intellectual, and the other is more emotional
A deeper
and
connection to
visceral.
it.
I mean, in your
Yes.
gut, in your body, in your cells, and you get released permanently. It feels so good, and it can
So
happen.
that's why it works so well. It's so much more effective, I've noticed, for helping people with severe addictions as well. People that have been dealing with, let's say, a heroin addiction for 20 years, they'll go and do one ayahuasca session and all of a sudden it's sorted out. So it's the trauma that brought in the addiction that they sorted out during the session.
Right. Got it.
Wow.
Good.
Wow. So that
All
just
right.
means there's so much of us that we have so much that we need to dredge out, to
We are more dysfunctional than we want to think. I mean, we are
realize
angels.
it.
We are fallen angels. We are fallen angels
Yeah.
in this embodied in this corpse. I mean, we're just but this I like to use the metaphor of the onion. I mean, you have to peeling all these layers of your own onion, and if you peel them enough, what you find in the center is just light. You are a light being embedded in hundreds of layers of, I don't want to use the bad word, but of something dark and smelly.
Yes. Someone just asked if this can even help with past life trauma. Have you ever seen somebody deal with the past life issues
Oh
on our
yeah,
eyes?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
really.
yeah. When you need to go through that, you experience that. I say, so you need it. Ayahuasca is going to show you.
So you go back to that trauma even if it's another life.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And also, not only that, there's two kinds. The ones that was a direct experience from your soul that mark your soul in this incarnation, or it can be an ancestral trauma that's coming from your
Ah,
mother and your grandpa, your grandma.
yes.
There's a lot of that for the war,
We
Second
don't
World War.
realize how much we embody that. I've had bad fibroids from my mother and my grandmother, and I did some research on it, and turns out it was from a trauma that happened 5 lifetimes ago.
Yes,
That
yes.
all of us are continuing to hold on to. All the women are
This
carrying it.
I said that in the Ayahuasca wisdom book, when in the Bible they say, I mean, I curse you for your son and your sons of your son for 7 generations. That kind of
Yeah.
language, the Bible, and that carries more wisdom that you think. When I was raised in religious school, and I read about that. That's not why is cursing who I mean, innocent. I mean, I cannot pay for the sins of my father or my grandfather. That's
It's not
unfair.
nothing to do with me. I wasn't even here,
I wasn't even here. So that's unfair.
Like,
So that was my thought
yes.
then, and unreasonable thought, of course. But
Yeah.
when you learn about ancestral trauma, and that this can be carried, so the mistakes and the traumas that you experience in this lifetime is it somehow passed epigenetically or genetically in the to your offspring, to your kids, and that defines them in some terms. So that's why you know, uh, parenting is so important. Uh, so this is I have an experience a participant that spent 3 hours crying, and he was in the middle of being raped. He's a man, but it felt like he was a woman being raped. So he realized that the he understood then at the end of the experience that he was healing his grandmother who was
Wow.
who was raped in 1920. Received information about the year when this happened. It was in 1910 when his grandmother was raped by this guy, and she fell pregnant of his mother. So
Wow.
that trauma of her grandma was passed to the ovum that was in the ovary of that grandma
Wow.
that turned to be the mother of him. And he received the trauma through his mother that was present in the rape as an ovum. And she got pregnant at the moment. So, and he was crying and releasing the pain of the grandma that was raped in 1910.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea of a perfect example.
Being affected by something that happened to your family over 100 years ago. That's just wild.
Yeah, his mother was just being created and transferred to him 60 years later, the trauma of her own mother or his grandma. It's incredible.
So that's a great question, Patty. Patty wondered, if we clear ourselves of that central or current trauma, will it affect the DNA energy of our children in real time?
Definitely. Yes. Well, one thing that we say is when you heal with ayahuasca, you heal your ancestors and you heal your descendants.
Wow.
It works both ways.
Yeah.
So and they feel it. So there's people that do 3 days, 7 day retreats, 10 day retreats in the jungle, and then they heal these kind of things, and they come back, and their sons and daughters, Mom, what happened? Yeah, you're different. They feel it. I feel different, and they change the perception of their mother and others, and the sons were playing, in at home when she was healing in the jungle. So they feel different. The descendants feel different. And the same thing, people come back and the mother said, "What we were doing, I feel like something happened. It's different." So the mother also felt something because we're all connected genetically in this ancestral chain, stronger than we also connected with everyone else, but the genetic connection is stronger in the quantum field. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Debbie has a question. Is there any reason why somebody shouldn't do ayahuasca? And I wonder. Okay, great. Let's cover that. I like safety.
Let's
talk about antidepressants.
That's important. Well, besides the normal precautions that are watched about not doing antidepressants before at least 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. There's a guideline there, because ayahuasca in itself is an antidepressant. That's what you feel after ayahuasca. This coolness, this nice, it's this afterglow that remains for a week or two after ayahuasca. Yeah. This is the antidepressant effect of ayahuasca. It's very powerful antidepressant effect. And you're taking already antidepressants, it's too much, and it causes this serotonin syndrome, and you may end up in the hospital. And that's why we want to make sure that you're not taking antidepressants before, because we have this one, natural one for you that is going to help you anyway. So, but that's one thing. But in addition to that, even if you are off all kinds of medications. There's people that have this genetic inclination from their mental disorders of their ancestors. That could be the mother that was some sort of schizophrenia or psychosis, or the grandpa that has this. You may be carrying this epigenetic influence of mental unbalancing, and it's latent. Is you have seen episodes here and there in your past about some weird experience in your brain and your mind, like this confusion or craziness or whatever you want to call it, and goes away. And yeah, it's not important enough to pay medical attention to it. But you drink ayahuasca and it exacerbates and it comes stronger. And some people feel unbalanced or for weeks after ayahuasca experience, feeling like they're not in their body, feeling that they haven't not grounded, feeling that they're crazy or they're going to be in that state forever. That people should not drink ayahuasca again. It's my recommendation, because you're carrying this. It can hurt you. Ayahuasca is your brain, your makeup in your mind is not robust enough to sustain the intensity of an ayahuasca experience, and may destabilize your mental capacities. And why risk your mental stability just exploring ayahuasca? Just if you feel like, if you after 3 or 4 days you still feel unbalanced or something, even though if it gets better over time, be careful and explore other. Don't try ayahuasca again.
It's best to just listen to your intuition.
It could worsen your condition. Yeah.
If you feel a strong drive to it, it's one thing. It's like your guides are calling you to it.
Yeah, you'll do it.
Whereas calling you to it.
You can.
What I have not seen though is that you felt permanently damaged by ayahuasca. Okay, not one case. All these cases, they eventually come back to normal. But what I recommend is that stop it, because some try it again and have a better experience, and it was something.
It's like opening doors in your mind.
In general, I recommend that if you have your and you have a history in your family of mental illness, and you feel something like that in ayahuasca, maybe it's time to check out. Just to play safe. Safety is important. And the guideline is the mental stability in your family history. If you don't have mental stability in your family,
because we have noticed that there are, you've been watching some of the podcasts, we've talked about entities and how there are astral beings that do kind of prey on people who are using psychedelics. Are there any protections that you implement for those things? Interesting.
There's no protection. Those entities that you see or whatever, you already have them.
Yes.
Otherwise, you won't see them. So it's the darkness that you're carrying. This is a bit touchy subject.
Yes.
But you should continue drinking. Those I say, drink again.
Does it help to remove those beings then by raising vibration or by dealing?
Removing is the wrong word. It's dissolving.
Okay.
Because it's something that you created. It's your own creation by either ancestral heritage or your own behavior, repetitive behavior. I explained that in Ayahuasca Wisdom, whole chapter for that. Repetitive behavior. We are creators. We create music, we create poetry, we create life, reproduction. We are at the same image of the creator. So with repetitive actions in our thought forms, we create entities. It could be sexual entities, deviation entities, fetishes, these eating habits like bulimia, all this, which is an entity. Alcoholism is an entity that possesses you. You can this repetition of behavior creates this entity that in your quantum field that it detaches and creates a separate egg, a separate aura, and this
we
part
call them thought forms. Yeah, we call them thought forms.
These thought forms, the magic, the thought forms turns into an entity when it acquires self-awareness. Now, the part of you, the alcoholic part of you, is aware it itself inside your psyche that it exists, and it will look for alcohol to keep feeding himself.
Yes.
And that's why you quit alcohol, and suddenly you bump into this friend that offers you a drink that your entity attracted him to get you into a bar, and then you with your diminished will, you fall and you drink again,
and you go down that spiral again.
And then and the entity, yes, we got him again. I mean, it's like, but it's a part of you. It didn't come from another alcoholic. It came from the first beer that you started drinking when you were 14. You know, it comes from, and that spiral up, and you create this entity, and you lose control of that part of you. You start controlling you. It's the opposite. So this is what entities are.
I really like JC's comments. JC says, I feel if your intentions are pure and you feel called to it, then there's a reason. But if you are just wanting to try it, to say you have done it, or to get high, it's probably not a good idea. It's a healing medicine and definitely deserves respect. It can help in so many things. Well said, JC.
Yeah. We find a participant that comes to ceremonies and you ask about their intention, and, well, I have done how many things now? It's like, check ayahuasca, been there, done that. You know, I just want to check. And it's like, I did this, I did that, I did that.
That was me. I did that.
Exactly.
That's why I flew all the way to Peru just to have the experience. You know, I did want some healing. I wanted some healing. I didn't even know what kind of healing I needed. I just knew I wanted the experience and the healing. And that's why they were like, no, you're not going to see anything. We're not going to let you see anything because you're not here for that. You're here for the healing. Right. So and they were just like, oh, we can see through you. You know,
you talk about in your book and in the video, the free video series, how right at the beginning, some people never have the experiences that are like all the geometrics and the psychedelic colors and art. Some people have, it's a dialogue. My experience was spoken instruction, straightforward, factual. She shot straight and right to the heart of, these are all your these are all the problems with you, sweetheart. You know, there was nothing poetic or artistic in my experience. It was a dialogue. It was a profound wisdom dialogue that showed me how everywhere I go, I am the problem. Yes. What is the problem? There I am too. And then
the same trip, Daniela. Amazing. That's exactly what happened to me.
And then as it progressed, as I implemented my learning, that integration time, you know, it's important to really integrate what you learn and practice in the curriculum of your life when you're not in that ceremony. Do you live what you learned? And if you're called back again, then you'll know. And that's the beauty of I think many medicines is if they're calling to you, there's something there. But there's no should. There's no should here. There's no, it's not a
same thing when you experience it. Same thing when you should experience it again. Some people they needed to experience it next week, and they're looking forward to go for it as soon as possible. And there's people that say, no, I'm not going to do that again. That was good enough for me one time. But then 6 months later, there's this itch in your heart, like, well, maybe. And then 3 months later, I think and then a year later, let's do this again. And it's the calling, as you say, start in your soul, start coming down, like it's time. And there are people that know that process, and they wait for that moment to come back and drink again. when it's time. And from some people, one is enough, and thank you very much, thank you, and never look back. Okay, that was not for them. I mean, it's not for everyone. But it's that
or at
person.
least it was for that point,
But it's
that one moment.
not at that moment. But it's that person gets into this divorce situation, or they lose their son in an accident, or their mother pass away, with some kind of guilt things involved. I assure you that at some point you're gonna say, maybe ayahuasca can help me with this. If your life is running more or less, within your expected limits, you don't need to drink ayahuasca. I mean, you don't need to. So, but in case of an emergency, break the glass, and
love that. I love that.
Pull that ayahuasca cup out of it and drink it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
This has been such an eye-opening experience, even for somebody that's already had the experience. I just learned so much from you, Jules. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, here
I am.
a
wonderful conversation. Can you show the books one more time for us, Daniela, for those?
Yes, and so
if you got your website one more time.
Yep, and Jules's email is on his website. So if you have any follow-up questions,
at Yahoo.
Yep, Ayahuasca Wisdom
at Yahoo.
Can you?
Ayahuasca Wisdom at yahoo.com.
Wonderful book, and on his website is the 10 video series that's free that walks you through this. It's a great companion. And this is the book that's all about healing unresolved emotion with the departed and the unborn. Ayahuasca Unveiled.
That's beautiful. I'm really excited to read that.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley. Thank you.
It's also that also in Spanish and Portuguese, so you can go on Google and send it to your to Brazilian friends or Spanish-speaking friends. Same version in 3 languages.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
Well, we look forward to part 2, Jules. I look forward to connecting with you about making the therapist course about the quantum mold of the model of the psyche. There's some next steps here. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for having me. Call me back anytime. I'm here to help.
Wonderful. Daniela, what's going on with Divinate today? Is there anything you want to promote for today?
Let me pull it up. That's what I didn't do yet this morning. Hang on. What is today? Wednesday?
Today is Wednesday.
All right. Let's look at the events for Wednesday. We have Siddhartha at 1 o'clock.
That's right. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Awesome.
Friends. So Siddhartha is live on Zoom in paid membership at 1 o'clock. So that's today. Come and receive some wisdom dialogue, a meditation, healing, whatever wants to happen. And that's today. Let me see. Yay. Let me look ahead to Friday. Friday is at noon, part 2 of Song of the Soul with Erin in paid membership. And every morning, of course, Kaya's daily harmonic resonance activations at 9:30, free. And so Siddhartha today and Erin on Friday.
Don't miss Siddhartha, guys. It's going to be great. Much love, everyone. See you all tomorrow. Thank you, Jules.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
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 I love you.